But still, he's got Congressman. He's got 4 months to go. Why not move forward and impeach Joe Biden if that's where the evidence led you?
Yeah, that's a scary family there. I mean, it looks like the type of family that's been indoctrinated, and they believe that there's a better way to do business. And,
It's been a really bad 24 hours for James Comer, a top MAGA Republican and chairman of the Republican-led House Oversight Committee, who, after being publicly humiliated by a freshman Democrat in yesterday's congressional hearing, is now being publicly humiliated by a fed-up Newsmax host of all people for Comer's high-profile failures and failure to deliver on promises. But before we unpack all that, if you end up liking this video and you want to support the channel, please be sure to hit the like, subscribe, and alert bells before you go. All right, friends, as you know, the Republicans under Donald Trump's leadership, if that's what we're going to call it, are an authoritarian cult of personality with no limiting principle and no talent for or interest in responsible governance. And if you need to identify one person who's in a position of Republican leadership who really embodies that, James Comer might be your guy. So he is the chairman of the most powerful and influential committee in the Republican-led House of Representatives, the Oversight Committee. As the name suggests, their constitutional, or rather their legal prerogative, the legal duty is to exercise oversight of the executive branch. Okay, so that's a pretty powerful, influential role. What's Comer done with this responsibility, the sacred responsibility, this awesome power? Well, he's tried to investigate and impeach President Biden for 2 years, and then it went nowhere. It was just publicly disastrous. Republicans on Fox News and elsewhere admitted that they didn't have the goods to impeach President Biden. Comer's own witnesses said as much. Other witnesses that Comer called have either been arrested for conspiracy and arrested for acting on behalf of a foreign adversary. It's just been one clown show after another. And then Comer recently, quietly, filed a 300-page report summarizing the impeachment efforts against the president. He said, it's the strongest case for impeachment in the history of the United States House of Representatives. But they didn't recommend impeaching the president, and they haven't called it to a vote. That's how you know it's a dud, okay? And so after being publicly humiliated yesterday by Jared Moskowitz, a freshman Democrat, James Comer tried to go to familiar territory, to friendly territory, to the Trump MAGA-friendly Newsmax, except he kind of got humiliated there too.
The president's son had to plead guilty, and the president dropped out of the presidential election in shame.
But still, he's got Congressman. He's got 4 months to go. Why not move forward and impeach Joe Biden if that's where the evidence led you?
Well, we impeached Mayorkas, and the Senate gave us the middle finger. So there's no way that Joe Biden's going to be removed from office because the Senate doesn't care.
Well, but the Democrats did that to Donald Trump twice, and the Senate gave them the middle finger.
Look,
so
I would vote to impeach. Yeah, I would vote to impeach right now. He committed impeachable offenses. But at the end of the day, we don't have 218 votes. We've got some Republicans. You're seeing the battles we're having over trying to make a few modest spending cuts in the House. We have a few Republicans that don't want to vote for it. I mean, that's just a fact of life. I don't like it. But at the end of the day, we're rid of Joe Biden. I mean,
So, again, it's pretty obvious that Rob Finnerty, that Newsmax host, really isn't persuaded by this. He's like, well, you say he's committed impeachable offenses. Well, yeah, he did commit impeachable offenses. Well, then impeach him. Well, I mean, the Senate won't actually convict. Yeah, but the Senate didn't convict Donald Trump when he was impeached twice by Democrats. If the facts are what the facts are, you should follow the facts. And who knows, maybe it'll be politically beneficial. And then Comer gives the game away. They don't have the votes to make it happen. They do not have the votes to make it happen. Also note how he tries to slip in at the beginning that his efforts somehow contributed to President Biden withdrawing from the 2024 election. Two things. Number one, no evidence of that whatsoever. The polling, as you recall, when we covered the impeachment effort pretty exhaustively, because again, it was the highest profile single crusade of the Republican Party with their House majority. And when they were doing public hearings and making public moves on it, we covered it relentlessly. The polls were never in the Republicans' favor. There was less public support for impeaching President Biden all the way through compared to any of the impeachment efforts against Donald Trump, number one. Number two, nobody was talking about impeaching the president when the president made the announcement that he would withdraw. And number three, Let's take all of that at face value, James. Let's say you did. You helped push Biden out of the race. Let's say that, even though it's not true. In hindsight, wasn't that a disastrous idea? Because whether we like it or not, whether you like it or not, Vice President Harris has been a more formidable opponent for Donald Trump in the 2024 election cycle than President Biden ever was. She's beating Trump more consistently in polling and fundraising and overall energy than President Biden ever did in 2024. So even if we take your arguments at face value, which we're not, you're a loser and a liar, your entire political initiative, tens of millions of dollars on this entire project amounted to absolutely nothing. Just one abject failure that even Newsmax recognizes. But even if we take that at face value, all you've done is create a worse situation for you, your cult leader, and your party. You moron. Absolutely ridiculous. James Comer deserves nothing but contempt. I want to play a couple of other clips here too, because as I said, he was humiliated by freshman Democratic Congressman Jared Moskowitz, and Comer really doesn't like Moskowitz, and this is what he had to say about his Democratic colleague on Newsmax.
He's just a clown. He's not a serious legislator.
I'm stunned that you two aren't close. I figured you guys would be among the closest in Congress.
No, my friends are tough guys from Kentucky. You know, I grew up in Appalachia. Moskowitz, I don't know. He came around 1,000 years too late. If this were 1,000 years ago, he would be in the King's Court. He'd be the little person that juggles for entertainment in front of the king. And that's what Moskowitz would have done. He's came around 1,000 years too late.
Well,
which is funny because Moskowitz dunking on Comer has been the stuff of public notoriety since Moskowitz entered Congress. I mean, it's made headlines, the dunks, the viral response from Americans has been overwhelming. Comer is humiliated regularly by Jared Moskowitz and the freshman Democrats. And so, and of course, it's funny because James Comer is suggesting that, Moskowitz would be a jester. Maybe. But Comer's a fool, which is another synonym for jester, I might add, except the connotation is even more extreme because Comer is an idiot. He is a fool. He is somebody who would be the subject of humiliation rather than a jester who actually does the humiliating. He humiliates, he entertains. So even by that attempt at an insult, you're actually not insulting Moskowitz, who's well known for his incisive rhetoric and his sense of humor. You're actually still praising him relative to what you are. Jared Moskowitz responded on Twitter by saying some history. Jester's privilege was the ability and right of a jester to talk and mock freely without being punished. Again, food for thought. Now, while we're on the subject of Comer made other appearances on the Fox Propaganda Network, for example, in which he attacked the family of Democratic Governor Tim Walz, who is Vice President Harris's running mate. I want you to hear what he has to say.
Yeah, that's a scary family there. I mean, it looks like the type of family that's been indoctrinated, and they believe that there's a better way to do business. And, with some of the things that the Walzes have said about China, their affection for China, that's very concerning to me because we don't want to set our business model like China's. I mean, China's already got too big of a foothold here in the United States, still in our...
Did you see that? Did you catch that? That unsolicited attack on Governor Walz's family? Not the first time, by the way, that Republicans have done that. I want you to note Maria Bartiromo, Fox host. I want you to, again, note her reaction.
They believe that there's a better way to do business. And, with some of the things that the...
Did you see that head turn? Even she is like, what the hell are you talking about? Again, Republicans have actually been attacking Governor Walz's family. I want to give you, just again, before I play one final clip of Comer, let me give you some examples of how Governor Walz and his family behave. And you tell me if they seem like a scary, indoctrinated family.
If you've never experienced the hell that is infertility, I guarantee you know somebody who has. And I can remember praying each night for a phone call, the pit in your stomach when the phone had rang, and the absolute agony when we heard the treatments hadn't worked. It took Gwen and I years, but we had access to fertility treatments. And when our daughter was born, we named her Hope. Hope, Gus, and Gwen, you are my entire world, and I love you. I'm letting you in on
Wow. What a scary, indoctrinated family. People publicly expressing public love and respect for their father and their husband. One other clip. You decide if the Walz family seems indoctrinated and scary.
Hey, Minnesota, Governor Walz here, out at the State Fair with my daughter.
Hope.
Every year we as a family do something old and something new. I get to pick something, a classic, the old mill ride, to do that. And then Hope gets to pick something new.
I think we're going to go do the slingshot.
Which I don't know what it is, and they're keeping it from me. But then we're going to go get some food, corn dog.
I'm vegetarian.
Turkey then. And
Turkey's meat.
Not in Minnesota, turkey special. And
so you see how they have that, stereotypical sitcom father-daughter relationship where he's the dorky, embarrassing dad, and she is the long-suffering daughter who clearly loves her father. I think what it reveals is that MAGA Republicans have a really hard time envisioning a cohesive, publicly supporting family, because certainly the Trump family is nothing like that. But while we're on the subject of James Comer and Walz, I want to round this out with a last-second clip of Maxwell Frost, freshman Democratic congressman, who, like Moskowitz, I have interviewed, enjoy him a lot. I love the energy, like Moskowitz, that he brings to the Democratic Party. Representative Frost, during this recent congressional hearing in which Moskowitz humiliated Comer, well, Frost kind of humiliated Comer as well, just in a more subtle way, when he got Comer to admit that the next priority might be to investigate Governor Walz and his family.
This committee functions as an extension of the Trump campaign. First, we went after President Biden with a nonsense impeachment hearing. Then we went after his son. Now we're going after the vice president because she's the nominee. And my question is, Mr. Chairman, are we going after Tim Walz next week? Because I hear from my staff that you're planning a hearing on Governor Tim Walz, even though he's been governor for 5 years and his name hasn't been uttered in this room or in this committee until something happened recently. Oh, yes, he became the vice presidential nominee. Is he next?
His son's going to jail.
Oh, okay. I'm talking about Governor Tim Walz.
Okay.
Are we doing a hearing on him next week?
I'll have to check.
You'll have to check. Okay. We'll see.
Yeah. Shameless abuse of power by the most powerful and privileged committee in the House of Representatives. Instead, it is functioning as a political arm, an electoral arm of the Republican National Committee, the GOP, Donald Trump's campaign. They are looking for reasons. They are going on fishing expedition. They abandoned the Biden impeachment, even though he committed the most impeachable offenses in U.S. history. They won't even try to impeach him. They just slid it under the radar. They gave up because now he's no longer a political threat in the upcoming election. And now they're targeting Tim Walz and his family. Absolutely despicable stuff. And again, I've said this before, but it bears repeating. The Republican Party is objectively inferior when it comes to governing. And if you're a conservative or a centrist watching, I'm sorry, the truth hurts sometimes, it's true. Democrats are better. They are objectively better at governing, even if you disagree with their policies. And the fact of the matter is their policies are much more likely to benefit you than whatever the hell this is from MAGA Republicans. So in my opinion, if you're an eligible voter, come November, you should punish the Republicans, not just Trump, but the Republicans in Congress, by kicking them out of the majority in the House of Representatives and saying, hey, if you want to ever get back, you better damn well sure be motivated on helping our constituents rather than your cult leader, and actually take responsible governance seriously, because they sure as hell aren't doing it now. In the meantime, let me know what you think in the comments.